Here's what's coming up in episode 146, my weekend with Karen A. Dahlman.
But I'm going to say right now, after seeing him be able to work it so well this weekend, especially starting last night, and then today even, I think he's working it with me. We're getting words in the beginning. See, you don't usually get words right away. I know Claire knows this too. She uses a board, and other people out there use a board. You'll get gibberish, right?
But I also am using it with you,
right,
as opposed to someone else who might be at my level.
That's right. Okay. So then we're using it here now together, and he's already gone up to getting words that are legitimate words. What is your name? People. Did you hear that?
For my people.
God, I've got amazing chills on that. I'll put down people for sure. And you think it's my people? What do we need to, the word we need to hear? People.
Oh, God. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the Big Seance Podcast. I'm Patrick Keller of BigSeance.com, and this is a place for an open discussion on all things paranormal, but specifically topics like ghosts and hauntings, paranormal research, spirit communication, psychics and mediums, and life after death. So basically, anything that pops up in my paranormal world. The candles are already lit, so you might as well come on in and join the seance.
I happen to know that we have found some new listeners in the last month or so. If you've recently found us, I'd love to hear from you, and I want to know a little bit about you and how you found us. And if you haven't joined us in the private Facebook group just for Paranerd listeners of the show, be sure to join the Big Seance Parlor. But I also wanted to point out that we've had several new listeners who have made the commitment to support the show on Patreon. So thank you. As always, at the end of the show, I'll be thanking my Patreon supporters at the Super Paranerd and Parlor guest level. So let's pour the tea for this week's episode. Today, I'm drinking Calming the Storm tea from Nuwati Herbals. This is a great tea for someone who might have stomach problems or maybe intestinal issues. It contains herbs that help to quench the burning in the belly like rain on a wildfire. This blend aids in calming the wind and quieting the rumbling thunder to promote healthy digestion. I'm drinking it hot right now, but the folks at Nuwati say that this blend is also terrific as iced tea. It contains ingredients like ginger, alfalfa, cat's claw, fennel, chamomile, and peppermint. And stay tuned because a little later in the show, I'll share more about Nuwati Herbals and how you can get 15% off your order at nuwatiherbals.com. I'm excited about today's episode because I wanted to tell you about the weekend I had a few weeks ago. I, like some of you, once again attended the Haunted America Conference in Alton, Illinois. And as you know, one of the speakers at this year's event was none other than one of our favorite guests here at the Big Seance Podcast, Karen A. Dahlman. It's the first time that Karen and I have been in the same room for a hug. And this year at the conference, it was so cool because I've never been in one room with so many past guests who are really like Big Seance family members. I got to hang out with Corey Shoth, Brandon Masulo, Sarah Hyatt, Richard Estep, Diane Student, and Kelly from History Goes Bump. Of course, Troy Taylor, who runs the conference. And then there was Mike and Wendy from the band Sunspot and the See You on the Other Side podcast. Jennifer and Matt Jones from the Dead History. They hang out in the Big Seance Parlor a lot. Saw them. Sherry Brake from Haunted Heartland Tours. April Slaughter returned. Carrie Bergen returned with her hauntingly beautiful Ephemera Obscura creations. Al from Haunted Willow Creek Farm, and you'll hear his name again a little bit later. Cody Beck, who produces and co-hosts the American Hauntings Podcast with Troy Taylor. And I once again got to chill with Barb Heiser, Joshua Taylor, and Paula Mitchell. And of course, I got a traditional hug from the hardworking Lisa Taylor Horton. I also met a lot of listeners for the first time. So again, I'd love to hear from you guys. So back to Karen A. Dahlman. Our tables were next to each other, and we had a really good time. Probably a little too much fun. And I hope we weren't interrupting too many people around us who were trying to, have conversations. But you'll hear a little bit later about how goofy we were. But probably the best part about Karen being at the conference is that she was introduced to so many people who didn't already know about her and her work. And these people are open to the Ouija, or maybe just curious about the Ouija. I knew that she would be a great fit for this conference. Because I was such a close neighbor, I heard many interesting stories and conversations that she had. People really loved her, and lucky for them, she was a speaker as well. And so on the second day of the conference, I had the honor of introducing her and her presentation. The most touching part of her presentation was near the end, where she talked about the turning point for her and her work with the Ouija. She told a story that if you've read her book, The Spirits of Ouija, you'll recognize it. It's something I wished you could have heard. So I actually asked Karen if she would read this portion of her book for us. So here we go. The place is a sorority house on a college campus. Here's Karen.
My turning point with the Ouija board. It all started when I invited a group of my sorority sisters into our downstairs chapter room to witness a session with Ouija. Several of these girls were feeling anxious and scared about my use of the Ouija board. A few were also Catholics and told me that I was partaking in something bad and evil and that there's no way this tool could even work. It was inferred that I must be pushing it, along with my Ouija partner, and making up the stories they were hearing. They really wanted to give me the benefit of the doubt, so when I invited them to come downstairs into our special sorority meeting room, they agreed to come and watch, but swore they would not touch it. Not a problem, I told them, as only Linda and I would be touching the planchette, while Dina would serve as the scribe, writing as the words be spelled out across the board. Not only was I going to show them that the Ouija worked, but I went one step further and told them that Linda and I would operate the board blindfolded, since we both had that much confidence in the board and its abilities to communicate with us. Plus, I wanted to prove to them that we only serve as the channel, so to speak, that the entities would use communicating through their movements of the planchette as it moved around the board. We couldn't see or know what it would be writing. By the way, this was the first and only time to this date that I felt the need to operate the Ouija board blindfolded, as I felt the need to prove what we were doing back then. Since that moment in time, I've not felt the need to ever prove anything like this again. I'm telling you, this session forever changed me. So after all the girls had congregated to our session, with doors closed and with at least 8 to 10 girls gathered around Linda and me, we sat on the floor, cross-legged with the board perched across our laps. We tied on our blindfolds. I made sure I couldn't see out at all, and I asked Linda to do the same. Dina was sitting adjacent to us on the floor with the pad of paper and pen ready to write whatever Ouija was to spell. I opened the session by asking Wilma Jean if there was a message for anyone in the room, and if so, to allow it to come through. What happened next was the kind of thing that happens when you feel a truth so profoundly, but so out of your normal experience that you choose not to speak of it again, only because it's shocking, and to grasp it would mean that one's worldly perceptions might have to change. Bingo. This is probably what happened to Marie as well. With blindfolds on, the planchette began to move around the board in the most energetic and rapid manner. Truly, it was all I could do to maintain contact with my fingertips on the planchette. I felt sorry for Dina because I knew that she had to be writing so very quickly that she couldn't look down at the paper but only keep her eyes focused on the next letter the planchette would point to. Voraciously, crazily, quickly, but with accuracy, the planchette whirled around the board with determination. I knew it was a different entity than the ones to whom I generally speaking to. It's as if each entity has its own and a unique moving way that it goes across the board, like a unique pattern that is specific for each visitor on the board. After doing the board for a while, you pick up these subtle nuances such as this. While the board was spelling frantically, I heard a slight whimper and gasp. I asked if all was okay without removing my blindfold and without understanding anything that was being communicated across the board. I received a confirmation back from one of the girls to continue. The planchette continued its frenzied movements all over the board and then came to an abrupt stop. I knew the communication was over, so I asked Linda to remove her blindfold while I did too. We then turned to Dina and asked her to read the message, which at this point Dina said she did not know what it wrote as it was moving so quickly and all she could do was write fast without looking down. But this is the gist of what Dina read out loud to us. Hello, Lindsay. This is your sister. I am fine. Tell Mom and Dad that I am fine. So is my boyfriend. We love you all. We are still with you. We felt no pain and died on impact. The only pain we ever felt was the pain the family felt and expressed at our funerals. We are at peace and feel love. Please do not be concerned about us anymore. Know that we love you and will always be with you. We will be with you again. I love you all. There was not a dry eye in the room. The Catholic girls were shocked, amazed, and didn't know what to say. For that matter, no one really knew what to say. I broke the ice and said, Lindsay, I didn't know that you had a sister who died in a car accident. At this point, Lindsay was bawling, one of those intensely deep cries that rattles your gut and chokes your breath. She couldn't speak. She just nodded her head. While Lindsay cried deeply, all of us sat there with her, allowing these intense emotions to be expressed without trying to make it better or silence her or say much more of anything. I thought to myself, how could one message have such an impact on all of us? Internally, I realized the therapeutic impact that such a session could have on a person receiving the message, allowing them to feel, to express pent-up emotions from a painful event, and to receive the gift of closure. I was amazed at the impact such a session could have on an entire group of people, too. That's when I realized the messages aren't just for the intended subject. They hold a much greater purpose than that. They are for all who are present, since all of us will face dying, death, terrible accidents, hardships, and eternal love. When Lindsay was finally able to speak, she said that she and the rest of her family had always hoped that her sister did not feel the pain when she died from that horrific car accident. She said that she would share the message with her parents and her other sister. The relief of freeing of her spirit I witnessed that moment was intense, an eye-opener and a heart gripper. I told the group that now Ouija could be used as a tool to heal. In that moment, I was forever changed. Everyone left that room a different person, all the while doing what they must with what they just witnessed, received, and learned. And so this is why now I look at the Ouija board as a tool of hope, of healing, releasing grief, and moving forward for personal evolution.
Thank you for reading that for us, Karen. I'll be right back. Don't leave.
You're listening to the Big Seance Podcast with Patrick Keller. Be sure to check out BigSeance.com for more discussion.
This episode of the Big Seance Podcast has been sponsored by Nuwati Herbals, a family-owned business operated in the St. Louis, Missouri area since 2002. The Cherokee people have a word for universal energy. That word is Nuwati. Rod Jackson is the founder of Nuwati and has personally developed their products from recipes influenced by his Cherokee ancestors. The Nuwati line consists of natural herbal products designed to actually do something. They promote healing, healthy skin, relaxation, and energy. They produce 4 lead product lines: herbal teas, herbal bath salts and scrubs, herbal bath bags, and herbal balms and body oils. They also have soaps, natural insect repellent, and a line of pet products. Nuwati has been featured at numerous red carpet events at the Grammy Awards, the Teen Choice Awards, the Oscars, the Emmys, and the Screen Actors Guild Annual Health Fair. Visit NuwatiHerbals.com and use code BIGSEANCE, all one word, to receive 15% off your Nuwati Herbals order as a thank you. Again, that's NuwatiHerbals.com, and Nuwati is Nuwati.
Thanks for joining us for the Big Seance Podcast. We'd better get back to the table while there's still some candlelight left.
On the last night of the conference, Karen offered a workshop on working with the Ouija. And so about 30 of us brought our boards, and she got us all talking to spirit. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one who got to experience the planchette moving for the very first time. Yes, after 6 years of using the Ouija board, collecting Ouija boards, and consuming anything Karen has to offer, my planchette moved for the first time. You'll hear more on that later. The best part of the entire weekend for me was that Karen and I spent an extra couple of days together, which was truly a gift and a weekend I'll never forget. After the conference, Joe and I met Karen for lunch in St. Louis, and then we got tickets to see Circus Flora under the Big Top, which is a 30-year tradition in St. Louis. Circus Flora has amazing top-notch acts, including the high wire, the trapeze, clowns, and lots of talented young people doing acrobatics. And no elephants, by the way, just some farm animals and cute dogs. After that, we left Joe and headed to none other than the haunted Lemp Mansion, where we would have a memorable and adventurous night stay. This was my second overnight stay at the Lemp and Karen's first. I previously stayed in the William Lemp Suite, and this time around I stayed in the beautiful Lavender Suite. Karen stayed in the spooky attic in the Elsa Suite. In an interesting turn of events, Jennifer and Matt Jones, who I mentioned earlier, they're members of the Big Seance Parlor on Facebook. And, we had just seen them at the conference as well. They were staying at the Lemp that evening as well. We had no idea. Well, we brought our boards and I brought some other fun tools. When I got there, I wasn't feeling all that well. I had been having some neck problems and had a headache. And so Karen was more than happy to relax in her room while I took a nap. And when I woke up, this is a funny story. When I woke up, I heard a few children outside my room investigating in the hall. It sounded like a younger girl and maybe an older boy, maybe 10 or so. Maybe they were brother and sister. And they had a radio with them and they were communicating with their parents, who were probably eating downstairs in the restaurant. During the restaurant hours, people are allowed to roam the house, and sometimes they have tours and things. Well, I heard them whispering and talking about what might be in my room, which was locked. They had jiggled one of the doorknobs and confidently told their parents over the radio that no one was in the room. Well, I decided to have a little bit of fun, and I can't decide if what I did was horrible or awesome, but I was feeling better from my nap. And so I went up to the door that was nearest them. There's several doors in my room connected to the hall because it's a massive suite. And I went to that door and I banged on it just one time from the inside of my room. I heard a gasp and then silence. And then I heard the older boy say, "Oh my freaking God, did you hear that?" It was the coolest thing. I had to giggle quietly. They relayed the story to their parents and assured them that no one was in the room where the noise came from. So I ended up being trapped in my room for 10 or 15 minutes while they tried to figure it out. I didn't want to ruin it and come out of the room. It was absolutely awesome. And I'm kind of proud of myself. So now there are a few kids out there with their own Lemp experience to take with them. Am I horrible? Am I going to get emails for this? Well, a little bit later, Karen came down to my room and we had a good laugh about me scaring the kids. And then we went out for some delicious gluten-free pizza at Cafe Piazza, which is just around the corner from the Lemp. Then we got down to business. For a complete history of the Lemp family, the Lemp Brewery, and the mansion itself, you can definitely listen to over 6 hours of the American Hauntings Podcast with Troy Taylor from a year or so ago. There's also plenty of resources online, but Troy Taylor is a trusted author and resource for the history. But I want to give you just a basic background of the Lemps and the mansion for those people who don't know. And to do that, the quickest summarized information I can find is on Wikipedia. I've also added some details from Troy's resources online and from his podcast. The Lemp Mansion is a historical house in Benton Park, St. Louis, Missouri. It is also the site of 4 suicides by Lemp family members after the death of the son, Frederick Lemp, whose William J. Lemp Brewing Company dominated the St. Louis beer market before Prohibition with its Falstaff beer brand. The mansion is said to be haunted by members of the Lemp family. The house was built in 1868 by St. Louisan Jacob Fikert. William J. Lemp Sr. and his wife Julia moved into the mansion in 1876. After suffering from the death of his youngest son, Frederick, to heart failure, on the morning of February 13th, 1904, William Lemp Sr. committed suicide by gunshot and died at 10:15 a.m. This happened in what is now named the William Lemp Suite, and this is the suite I stayed in previously. In 1911, the house underwent major renovations, including conversion of some space into offices for the Lemp Brewery. Elsa was the youngest child of William Sr., and she was fascinated with spiritualism. She had many seances in the mansion and is said to have been good friends with Pearl Curran, who wrote books channeled by the spirit of Patience Worth. I devoted an episode of the podcast to Pearl a couple of years ago. Though it wasn't in the Lemp Mansion, in 1920, Elsa Lemp committed suicide, although some would dispute whether it was a suicide or not. On December 29th, 1922, William Lemp Jr., also known as Billy, shot himself in the chest in what was at the time the front office in the mansion. This is the first room on the left when you enter through the main entrance of the house. Charles Lemp, the third son of William Sr., was the final Lemp to live in the mansion starting in 1929. He never married and lived with his dog in the mansion with 2 servants, a married couple. He was friends with Vincent Price, who stayed at the mansion many times. On May 10th, 1949, he shot himself in the head in the same bedroom as his father. And this is the same suite I stayed in last time. He left the following suicide note. St. Louis, Missouri, May 9th, 1949. In case I am found dead, blame it on no one but me, Charles A. Lemp. In 1950, the mansion became a boarding house, and throughout the next decade, it lost much of its ornate charm. Although many of the original details of the home have been replaced, there are still some remaining pieces. The Lemp Mansion is currently a restaurant and inn owned by the Pointer family. Tours, both historical and haunted, are offered and is a venue for murder mystery dinner theater and Halloween parties. There's also a system of caves under the mansion that connected the house to the brewery. Though most of the cave is not accessible today, and some of it was destroyed due to highway construction, you can find many pictures online. The Lemp family was incredibly eccentric, and the cave had a private swimming pool, a ballroom, and a vaudeville theater inside. I have a friend who has seen all of these rooms in the cave. I can't tell you who or how, because I'd have to kill you. So now that you have a little background, let me take you to the Lavender Suite, where I stayed this time around. There were no suicides in this suite, but the suite across the hall is where the first and last suicide took place. After dinner, Karen sat down with her Ouija board. We also had a digital recorder, a K2 meter, a spirit box, and an Ovilus 5. Karen was losing her voice since she was such a rock star at the conference and talked to and met so many people.
Okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, but all right, so give me your hands now. There's left to right. There you go. God, Goddess, Universe, Spirit, all our guides, all our relations, and those that are here in these spaces, we reach out to you this evening with white light and love. We seek you that has a message or wants to come forth and make your appearance or to be heard. We welcome your visitations. We welcome your words, your messages. We welcome your anything, any way you want to bring yourself to us, through our senses, through our eyes, our ears, touch. Yeah, I shouldn't scare you.
I'll bring it.
Okay, all right. So we welcome you in any way that's right for you to show yourself. We're here to respect you, your space, honor what has transpired within here, and for you in your life and where you are now. We always have white light around us. We're always protected within ourselves and around us in this building and all those that are here. We always say thank you for the communication, the connection. And I always say thank you to the guides and any help you can provide us, as Patrick and I use this tool for the first time seriously. We ask if you can come through and help in any way to make these communications easier. And also to help bring in any of the energies that are here that would like to come forth.
And help Karen keep her voice.
And please bring my voice back to me if you can. I'm open to healing of my throat. There's been spontaneous healings at the board. Yeah. So, with that, I say thank you, and we may begin. All right, let's just you and I let's just close our eyes and feel it, the energy coming in. Are you on? There you go. Hands are up.
This session that we had in the Lavender Suite lasted about 2 hours. Because of my inexperienced energy at the board, we didn't get the typical activity that Karen gets with her usual partners. At the beginning, we got what Karen calls license plate numbers, which I think is funny. So basically gibberish. But again, the planchette was moving, so I considered that success. We did get progress, though. What we ended up getting that wasn't gibberish were things like Cage, Nancy, husband, Bob, home, and then later Nancy again, except without the Y, and mom. After a while, we got creative and turned on my spirit box, which has been a big hit during several of my Facebook Live videos. If you don't know what a spirit box is, it's basically an altered AM/FM radio that sweeps through radio stations at a fast speed. And the theory is that spirits can use either the bits of sound or voice to put together their own messages or somehow speak over the white noise. I've heard both kinds in the past. Like anything, though, I have a healthy skepticism about the spirit box, although it's probably one of my favorite toys for paranormal investigation. Over the spirit box, we heard lots of names and words, but words with multiple syllables are usually more significant and meaningful. And when Karen and I both heard them clearly, those were the ones we took more seriously. Some of these names and words were protect, Ouija, and Adam, which was the name of William Lemp Sr.'s father, who came here from Germany and introduced lager beer to St. Louis. But we were really blown away by a few words that we heard multiple times through the spirit box, like Eric, mother, Edward, Facebook, and the word people, which we actually heard up to 6 or 7 times. I cannot explain this other than it's possible that, after hearing it a couple of times, we forced ourselves to hear it that many more times. It's very possible. So anyway, you should know that a lot of the audio I'm going to play now has that annoying radio sweep sound. So if you or anyone listening might be sensitive to that kind of thing, you might want to save the rest of this episode for later. But a lot of nerds really get into this. So here's a little taste of our 2-hour session in the Lavender Suite that night.
Just so you know, it just spelled something.
Ooh.
Something real. Let's keep going. Oh, yeah.
Just say hand.
Okay. Oh, I'm getting some major chills right now. Okay. Well, you have to tell us. Please go ahead. What you want to say. Okay, stopping. Look, this was what it said. So Cage, it can't be this M-Mon. That could be Nancy husband. This is Nancy husband. Or on Nancy. But that word is definitely husband.
Huh.
Is there somebody named Nancy in this family?
Or maybe someone is a Nancy husband.
Or an Nancy husband. Think about it. It's not an, it was on. Mon. Okay. But this definitely, if you go like this is Nancy husband. Do you know there's a name of Nancy in this family or anything?
Nancy.
So, I'm trying to think if I know a Nancy. Or it could be like, I was specifically asking for energies here.
Yeah.
So I'd rather go here first.
Right.
So is the husband of Nancy, or I don't know. But those are two distinct words. So that's where I start going, okay.
Well, can anyone clarify using our tools, any further, what Nancy might mean or husband? We could try the spirit box later too. That's been like...
Do you want to do it now?
You want to try?
Yeah, we might as well. Because let's see what words we get. We'd like clarification. Is that how you do it? Like, we'd like clarification on...
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's how I would do it, yeah.
All right, go ahead. Yeah, you do it. I guess I'll write things down. Now I'll go like this. This is Ouija. Now I'll go with the spirit box.
There you go. And I get more serious about the ones that are more than one syllable.
I agree.
The ones that are one syllable, I'm like, you can hear yes 1,000 times if you want to.
Or no.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us more about Nancy husband, what that means.
Oh, I didn't think about husband as being like a name.
Or Nancy's husband, or Nancy husband, yeah.
It'll help me verify that you're communicating with us if you repeat the word Nancy. Can you say the word Nancy, please? Please say Nancy. Let me know if you're hearing me. How about husband? Please say husband. You know what I want to do? I think this is on FM. I want to change it to AM. It's been so long since I've used this.
We welcome you to communicate with us. Any of these tools here that you see. Also, if you want to do an apparition, you go with that. You want to do the lights, and look, we're open. You can use the board with us, whatever you want to do. You want to touch us, manifest. Who is here with us? Who's here near us? Public?
Did you hear? I don't know.
Yeah, I did. And someone there thought I heard public.
I don't know.
What is your name? People. Did you hear that?
For my people.
God, I've got
People
major
are my
chills
people.
on that. I'll put on people for sure. And you think it's my people? Oh, God, that gave me chills totally. Is Nancy here? I started feeling the table vibrate.
Really?
What's me with this got major chills going on?
Who is vibrating the table?
Is there a husband here? Alvin? What'd you hear? Elvis?
Is Alvin here?
No.
Okay. What? Can you say it again? If it's not Alvin, what were we supposed to hear?
Eric?
I didn't hear an Eric, but I miss a lot.
It's okay. I want to make sure you both hear it.
Did you say Eric? Could have been Enos.
The people thing was very clear.
Did someone say mother?
Eric, heard it again.
Eric, tell us about yourself. Loaded question.
Is Eric here? Heard mother. Heard mother. Did you hear mother?
Yeah, and I heard mother earlier.
Is Nancy here? Courtney? I don't know. Protect? I did hear that.
Straight up heard protect.
So I'm going to circle them like this when they're straight up. Like it means we both hear it, girls. Mm-hmm. That'll be ours.
Yeah.
My people protect. People protect. Brittany. Did you hear Brittany?
Brittany or breaking?
Yeah. Tell us again. What do we need to? The word we need to hear. People.
God. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
People are here. Okay. I feel you guys.
Exactly the same.
Okay, come here. Let's get on here now.
Thank you.
Let it run. You keep talking to us. Said yes. So it was only a yes. Okay, people that are here, we're back on the board. We heard some names. So go ahead and tell us who you are, who's here with us, and use the board as well as these tools. Thank you.
Zoe?
Yeah, something like that. B, people. Do people again? It's like people.
If there's something we're supposed to hear, tell us.
Make sure you get it for us. O. We're working all these tools, you guys.
What?
Boy. Was that boy?
Maybe. Is that boy?
Okay, we'll keep working this on all these tools. B. Thank you. I got a B, thank you. It's like they confirmed it.
What did you
You said people, they just said people after you said
okay.
people. Holy I'm totally chilling out.
My tool added to your tool.
This is kind of cool. What was that?
Thank you.
Is there a Bob in the Lemp family? I heard a little somebody say Ouija.
Oh my God!
You did not hear
I was
that,
waiting.
too.
I was waiting for you to say.
Like
yeah.
low Ouija.
Yeah.
We didn't hear it at the time, but in this short clip, I hear what sounds like Ouija Board. I'll play it 3 times.
O. O. O.
Eventually, we took a little break to be goofy, and we started a Facebook live session from the Big Seance Parlor. I hadn't realized that it was so late and planned on going live earlier, so kudos to those of you who waited around and showed up. In our live video, we started talking about the Ouija Board EVP from the Spirit Box that I captured years ago during a Ouija session. I actually played it for Karen in my very first interview with her. So here's our discussion of that, and then I'll play that Ouija Board EVP from 5 or 6 years ago.
Look at that Ouija. We thought her Ouija. It's the Ouija.
I'm going to find that word.
Yeah.
I was telling here.
Stop. We'll just chat now. Wow, that's noisy. Yeah, no, peace.
I was telling Karen, and some of you might remember this, and I think I put it. You know what? I think I played the clip for you, the first interview I did with you.
You know, you did. That's why I remembered it from. That was like about 5 years ago, 2013. No, I was on your show in 2013. No, 14. When did you start?
14.
That's when I was on your show.
Yeah.
Right when you started. Okay.
So it was like 5 years ago. Right after I first started trying the Ouija board out, after I read Karen's book, and this would have been before I even met Karen or had her on my show. And I may have not even, I don't even think I was podcasting yet. I think I was still blogging. So some of you...
You found my book and you were blogging.
Yeah.
That's when you had our first contact before you started.
And I heard you on Jim Harold's
That's right. I was on
podcast.
a show way back then. Yeah.
Yep. And I was using, just like now, I was using the Spirit board or Spirit box with the Ouija board. I probably had a couple other tools. And of course, the Ouija board wasn't doing anything, but I was trying so very hard and meditating, and I probably even had like music playing and stuff like that. And this would have been one of the first brave times that I sat down with myself and the Ouija board, and I had my hands on the planchette, of course, and I asked, what am I touching? Can you please tell me what I'm touching? Thinking that it would say like planchette or something. Mm-hmm. And I heard very clearly Ouija board.
I love it.
And it's I've got the audio of it. And
I remember going back on there and listening to it myself.
That's like the coolest. Sometimes people ask me if I've ever gotten the Ouija board to work.
And that's what
I'm like, no, but I got an EVP while I was using the Ouija board.
And here's the EVP from 5 or 6 years ago that we just discussed. I'll play it 3 times so you can hear it.
What am I touching? What am I touching? What am I touching?
Then in the same Facebook Live video, we discussed the setup, recapped the fun we had at the conference, Karen's workshop, and me getting the planchette to move with my partner Al for the first time. And then we finished our Ouija session with some more Spirit Box. And it was another long session, but here's a taste of that.
Well, he is recording right now, everything audio-wise.
Yeah, I'm recording audio,
so
too.
He's got that going on right here. This little
and
device.
Oftentimes I will hear things that I missed when I play the audio back. I will hear things that I didn't hear in person. And, we've been talking at the same time, too, so we might miss things. But Karen's been hearing things that I don't hear, and I've been hearing things that Karen doesn't hear.
Yeah.
And so just listening back sometimes will validate some of those things. And some of you may have used the Spirit Box before.
Yeah, Claire says, so cool, Patrick. Great idea to use the tools together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great way to validate. And it's also kind of... I guess, I'm not an expert at anything, but kind of my world
with my
blending,
world,
like my strength blending with your
my
strength.
That's very true. Good way of putting it. Yeah.
Because you've talked to me about that. Like, at one point you just said, maybe this is just not going to be
your tool.
My tool.
Right.
Like maybe I have to rely on, something.
But I'm going to say right now, after seeing him be able to work it so well this weekend, especially starting last night, and then today even, I think he's working it with me. We're getting words in the beginning. See, you don't usually get words right away. I know Claire knows this too. She uses a board, and other people out there use a board. You'll get gibberish, right? So you went through the gibberish stage a little bit last night. It all runs into
But I also am using it with you
right.
as opposed to someone else who might be at my level.
That's right. Okay. So then we're using it here now together, and he's already gone up to getting words that are legitimate words. Now, is it real messages? I would say no. I wouldn't hold my breath on it. But that's how it works. It goes gibberish first, and it starts getting the spelling words, and then the words start becoming sentences. And right now we don't have that yet. So that's what we're using all these tools to. We're blending both of us together, but also using the tools to confirm this and this tool to confirm this. And it's really fun for me because I don't always do all these tools. I just do the old school tool. Old school. You do the new school tool. I do the old school tool. You know what I mean?
And sometimes I still like the old school, like, can you make a knock? I still love that. Can you knock 3 times for me?
Oh, yeah.
Or,
Yeah. Somebody asked you, Kenneth asked, have you gotten independent voice during a session?
Independent voice. Can you clarify what you mean by independent voice?
I think what he means is speaking on audio, but I'm assume. Or do you mean just in the air?
And Kenneth knows his stuff. Kenneth is up there.
Maybe he's asking about, have you heard things like this out here?
Oh.
Like literally?
Like what would on the show?
Voice?
Yeah, the disembodied voice. That's how I would know
that's what
that.
I call it too.
I never have. I have only heard knocks. I've heard plenty of raps.
Voices from the air. That's what I said. Yep. Yeah. I have before. I've had that occur. Oh, it's very rare when I've had that, but I've had it where there's a voice outside. Definitely nobody's in the room telling me something.
And if I did, I'm almost sure I probably have, but you guys know me well. I probably explained it off or doubted it a little bit.
Right. I've had it several times, actually. Kind of think of it during sessions and not during a session.
Because I've been in quite a few haunted locations, and I do write things off too easily. So my mom does that. She yells at me.
Yeah.
She's like, "You're just a skeptic."
Well, even your session you had last night with the board, you had some confirmation that you felt like you know, tell them about that.
So we first got a hello.
He's talking. By the way, he's talking about the board session he had last night with his partner during the workshop I was giving.
Which was fabulous, by the way.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you.
And so I have to say, I know Al, because I've met Al a couple of times. I met him last year at the conference. But we don't know each other.
You never did board together, though.
Very well. We've never done the board together.
He doesn't know your family names and who your members are.
So, even if, I don't know, Al, you maybe eventually see this. I don't know. But
cool.
But, the trust there, I barely trust myself, so I've always said that's why I've used the board by myself, because I'm the only one that I can truly trust. And I've always used it with my mom as well. I can trust my mom, Linda. And so, but I was working with Al, and we tried to communicate some people on the other side from his life, and then some people from my life, and we, asked a few people to help us with communication. And so I asked to talk to my grandpa. And I don't remember if we ever got
a hello to start with.
But I don't remember if that was before or if that was after I asked about grandpa.
I don't know, because I walked up and you told me that's when you said you got the hello.
Right. And then I asked, I said, let's do this.
You wanted the secret word.
Yes. I said, tell me the nickname that I would have called you in life. And Al didn't know this. I did not tell Al. I said, I don't want to tell you yet. And we were getting gibberish too.
Yeah,
we
because you get that in the
things
beginning.
that didn't spell words. But right after I asked that, I did get the first letter of the nickname that I called my grandpa. The rest of the letters were kind of gibberish.
Yeah.
But that helped me. Like out of all the letters on the board, the first letter it went to was the first letter. So that helped me.
It did. And so I about that time I walked over and I said, well, what's the confirmation for you? I think it's really important to listen to your body and how you feel about it. He says, oh, yeah. He goes, oh, yeah, that was confirmation for me. I know that came through. So it was really
that
cool.
almost meant more to me than the hello.
Yeah, that's what
you know what
saying.
I'm saying?
Yeah, because you feel it.
Yeah.
So people always say to me, how do you know what you're speaking to in the board or anything we're talking about tonight? Because you get that confirmation. Like we heard people so strongly those 2 times on this little box over here. We both were like high-fiving, getting chills, and we knew it. It's a knowing you get. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's intuition, knowing, but it's so strong that it resonates in your body. So I always like to use my body as my barometer when I'm doing all these kinds of investigations. So Clara said she has received direct independent voices straight into the room. It's for real. Absolutely, you guys. And if you don't know Claire, I'm sure a lot of you do, she is an incredible psychic medium. She does mediumship wonderfully.
And uses the Ouija board.
Oh, and uses the Ouija board and fully does communicate. She's booked out. I think you're booked out all the way through to 2020, if I understand correctly. Anyway, so yeah, there's confirmation there too. And it sounds like Kenneth probably has experiences with that as well. Hi, Katie. Katie Kelly just joined us.
Oh, Katie Kelly's my buddy from college.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. She's funny. She's hilarious.
Wonderful. I love funny people.
She would have us rolling right now.
As funny as you?
Oh, funnier, I'm sure.
Tell them a story about... Did I tell a story about Troy Taylor when he put us together?
Oh.
You asked...
So
let me say, I don't know if we were good or bad at the conference when we sat next to each other. We were really good at being funny, but we weren't that bad, were we?
Well, first of all,
I'll go back to
Karen
you.
is such a rock star, and I knew she would be, and that's why I begged Troy. I was like, you have got to get Karen here, because I already knew that the attendees of this conference every year are so open to the Ouija.
They're Ouija friendly.
And I've been to another conference in the state that is not Illinois, but Missouri, which is the opposite. Not to say that everybody there was open.
No, but she doesn't take it seriously. I know that the person who runs it.
But I would say that Karen's table was one of the busier tables at the conference, and it was non-stop. Is why she's hoarse now.
Yeah, I've lost my voice somewhat. I was like talking to people the whole time. It was so much fun, you guys. That was a great conference. If you haven't gone, you need to go.
Books and Ouija boards.
I couldn't sit down. I had a stand-up hold. I was just talking and selling.
But if there was any moment...
It was fantastic. It was so much fun.
Any moment that she wasn't...
Well, and you were busy. You were busy too.
Or even when you had people there too.
We
were kind of just being goofy. And also I was really tired, and so I get goofy when I'm really tired, and so that makes it worse. And so we're convinced that Troy will never put us together again because we were being, although he would never even know.
No, this is what's so funny about it. I walk in and I meet Troy in person for the first time. Okay, so he goes like, yeah, I'm putting you and Patrick next to each other, and your booths will be right next to each other. And I'm like, I said, oh, I don't know if that's such a good idea. He's like, well, maybe not, but at least it'll be fun for a while. I go, okay, you might be splitting us up by the end of this weekend. You guys, we were the entertainment.
Yeah, we
were the floor entertainment. Resident entertainment.
There was a booth next to us where they were filming interviews. It was Singular Fortean.
Yes.
And I think they were probably just interviewing people about their experiences and seeing things. But they had like some serious professional equipment and like lights and a screen.
Oh, full on.
So they were doing like, documentary filming is what it seemed like over there. And so then we were right next door laughing.
Telling jokes.
And snorting because we were laughing so hard.
And everything was funny.
And so I joked that those people are probably going to contact us soon and be like, so we're editing all of our footage and we have to
dub up voiceovers. I said they're going to have to take out all the sound and put in music. They may not have wanted music.
I hope their microphone was a really good microphone that cuts out most of that stuff.
So after we closed our sessions, we decided to take our live video out into the dark corners and hallways as we explored all levels of the mansion. At this point, the restaurant is closed, the place is dark, and other than a handful of people staying in 2 other suites, we're all alone. We actually never ran into anyone else at this point. It was pretty quiet. If you listen all the way to the end of this episode, I'll leave you with a little Easter egg clip where Karen shoved me into a creepy, dark, unfinished corner of the attic. It was pretty funny, and we were clearly slap happy by that time. Well, we ended our live video and spent some time in Karen's room in the attic, which some people say is the most haunted room in the mansion. We don't know much about the history of the room. Supposedly, servants lived in the attic, but at the time the Lemps lived there, it was mostly an unfinished attic. Again, we were pretty tired at this point, so even though we did use some of my tools in the spirit box, we mainly just talked and looked up the history of the Lemp family on our phones. Then it was time for me to sneak off to my room by myself, where it didn't take long for me to pass out and sleep solidly till checkout time. Neither of us experienced anything while we were alone or sleeping in our rooms, but I can pretty much sleep through the end of the world, so who knows what could have been going on. But we did have lots of fun, and I'll always remember my weekend with Karen A. Dahlman. If you are ever in the St. Louis area and have the opportunity to visit the Lemp Mansion, even if it's just for dinner or a tour, you should totally do that. It's a beautiful yet creepy mansion, even if you don't see the coveted full-on apparition. And you know what? If you've never been to the Haunted America conference, you should attend that too. So many cool things happen on the East or West Coast. So if you're landlocked in the middle, like me, then take advantage of cool things like this. Thank you to the following super paranerds who support the show at patreon.com/BigSeance. James Wilfong, Bliss is my muse, David Rubenstein, Genesis, Natalie, Sonia B, Kim Robb, Jim Budd, Josiel Lorenzo, Susan Davey, Paula Mitchell, and Amy Park Gedeke. My supporters at the parlor guest level, who can be found at bigseance.com/parlorguests, are Linda of ShimmeringMoons.com, Denise Sia of Mystic Moms Paranormal, Nettie, Joni Kuntz, Sylvie, Jeffrey Peck, Dina DeCastro of Dina DeCastro Astrology, Peggy Hagen, Sharon, Marion Hover Clairvoyant, Bruce Williams, Christopher Kohler, Lana and John of Carbon Lilies, Anna Frias, and Norman and Linda Keller. That sound you just heard was the above and beyond there's not even a category for your level of support fireworks display. Because I have now 2 awesome listeners who support the show at the $10 level. Steve Skinner joins Jackie Pacheco in this category. Enjoy the fireworks, you two. So thank you, Jackie and Steve, and thank you, Paranerds. Additional music in this episode is by Kevin MacLeod from Incompetech.com.
For show notes, including links to anything we may have mentioned in this episode, visit BigSeance.com. You can find and subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and just about anywhere podcasts are found. Do you have any comments or feedback? Go to BigSeance.com/feedback to learn how to get your voice in a future show. Or you can call my feedback line, 7755-TELL-ME. That's 775-583-5563. Interested in learning how to promote and share the podcast? Go to BigSeance.com/share. Thank you so much for listening. Unfortunately, it's time to blow the candles out, but we'll see you and light them again next time.
This looks spooky back here.
Oh, God.
Go in there.
I am not going in there.
Why not? You scared?
I'm kind of scared.
Get in there.
Do you have your phone?
I should rub my headlamp.
I was going to say.
Here, let me just turn the light on.
Here, let me just turn the light on.
Go back in there.
Oh, God. You're going to turn the light
Get-
off, and I'm going to be...
No.